Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I can't believe I finally did this. I've been talking about starting a BookTube for maybe a year now. I just really wanted another place to share more bookish content and just have more yappy videos because editing content down to a minute sometimes is just really hard, especially when you have a lot to say. I'm just really excited to be here and I hope some of you are too. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ashvini. I go by Ashvini Reads on my socials. I've been in the online bookish space for maybe 4 years, 5 years. I started during the pandemic, as a lot of people did. And I've just been enjoying the process since then. I can definitely say that my taste and expectations in what I'm reading and consuming has definitely changed since I started reading again. And I say again because I did grow up being an avid fantasy reader. I loved everything that had to do with magic and fantasy kingdoms and dragons and all of that. And like a lot of you, I stopped reading for a very long time and then rediscovered reading during the pandemic. So just glad to be here again. And as you can see, my collection has grown. I'm definitely more of a mood reader, and that means I will have maybe 2 to 5 books going at any given time because I read based on what I'm feeling at the moment, and I usually shift between fantasy or romance or something between, some romantasy, if you will. And I've said this before on my socials, but I did just move over a month ago, and I finally got shelves. I've never had bookshelves before, so this was a huge deal to me. Growing up, I've always had to share a shelf with my brother and my family. And since then, I've just kind of put my books wherever I had space for them. And I was waiting to move into my more permanent place to get shelves. And look how pretty they are. So we'll get into a little bookshelf tour momentarily. But as you can see, there are a lot of empty shelves, and that is done on purpose because why would you buy shelves just to have them pre-filled? You know what I'm saying? Before we get into the tour, I do want to say I'm still figuring out camera work and lighting and all of that and what works in this new space and with this equipment because I'm using a very old Canon Rebel camera that I've used in the past when I used to have a YouTube channel. And if you knew me back then, when I had that YouTube channel, my content has significantly changed, as you can tell. But just glad you're here. As for posting expectations, I don't want to constrain myself to a strict posting schedule because I think that's setting myself up for failure. It's just way too much pressure, and I'm speaking from experience. I will try to post maybe once or twice a month, maybe more if I actually do anything worth posting about. But otherwise, I will try to compile my content into a post every month or so, or every 2 weeks. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So anyway, glad you guys are here. Please subscribe if you want to see more, and let me know what you want to see more of because I can do anything from book reviews to lifestyle content to just everyday shit posting or even read with me's. And I say read with me very lightly because right now I'm reading all over the place. I need to get an e-reader. If you have any suggestions for the best e-reader, please let me know. I've never had one before, but I do really like physical books. I like holding books when I'm reading them.
I just love being surrounded by books. I just think there's no better smell in the world than the smell of old books.
I feel like I sound really pick-me when I say that, so let's move on and let's start the tour. It is just so on brand for me to think I'm just so prepared to start filming only to realize that my pendant was stuck over here the entire intro. Just pretend like you didn't see that and it was on purpose. So over here on the far right, we have all my Greek mythology inspired books. There's kind of a theme to each shelf, but there's also not. But just bear with me. Some of them are nonfiction. I say some, but there's 2. And then of course we have the Madeline Miller, The Song of Achilles and Circe, a must. And then we get a little bit more into adult books, but I was obsessed with the touch of darkness series when I first started reading again, and also anything by Katie Robert. They're a guilty pleasure read. I'll leave it at that. Are they well written? It depends on who you ask, but for me, they were just fun, and I just love anything Hades and Persephone. We also have Lore Olympus, which is graphic novels. It's actually based off of a webtoon, which I used to be really obsessed with. I do have 5 of the books. I think it's a complete series. I haven't read them in a while, to be honest, and I don't know if there are more books out there. Probably are, but hopefully one day I get back to them. Let me know if you read these too. I'm curious to see if there's any other fans or if this is just really niche. I also have like a singular graphic novel here that is just Harley Quinn and Batman, because I had a phase where I was really obsessed with Harley Quinn and Joker, not Batman. I named my dog Harley Quinn as well. So this isn't really related to anything else in my collection, but graphic novel, graphic novel. That's the theme. Do you get it? Do you get it? It makes sense to me. Also, I have a few of these not floating candles. What do you call them? The flickering fake candles. I haven't put batteries in them yet, so they don't work, but I'll put them in at some point. Over on this, I feel like a weather presenter. So this area over here is my assorted adult romance, I guess. I don't read too much romance. I'm very fantasy heavy, so this is my romance collection. And as you can see, I'm very impartial to Ali Hazelwood. I do have another one of her books on my nightstand. So I have 4 of her books, which I consider is a lot to have from one author. Her books are also guilty pleasure reads for me. Again, they're not literary masterpieces, but they don't have to be. They're just fun, fluffy romances, and I'm here for that. And then, of course, we have the Ruinous Love series by Brynne Weaver. If you've read these, then you know that it takes a very special type of reader to enjoy them. I'm not so much of a dark romance reader, but I did really enjoy them just because they're so fun and they're so different, but also very gruesome, and I will never eat cookies and cream ice cream again. If you know, you know. This section is still up for debate because initially I was like, okay, there's a theme here with the dragons, right? I don't know if any of you guys know the Dragon Rider book, but this is by the same author who wrote the Inkheart series, and I was obsessed with this in middle school. This was one of the books that started it all with the dragon obsession. I wanted to have a section for dragon-themed books, dragon-themed fantasy, and I'm realizing now that I'm missing a lot of books from my collection that I have read that are dragon themed. I just don't own a copy, but besides the point, this is still up for debate. The thing about Fourth Wing is I did not really enjoy it. I know it seems like oh, she's not like other readers type of thing to say, but I genuinely was so confused when I read this series why it was so popular. I get the whole concept of it being like easy to follow, easy to read. I feel like her writing, and I've said this so many times on TikTok and on Bookstagram, but her, whatever dialogue that she gives Violet and Xaden, it just sounds like cringy, like Wattpad style dialogue. And it's so off-putting because the storyline isn't that bad. And I feel like if the dialogue wasn't so god awfully cringy, it would be something worth recommending to people. I personally did not like the series. I don't know why I got this far into the series and I still spent my money on Onyx Storm, which was a hot mess, by the way. And I'm realizing now, as I'm doing this, as I'm saying this, I'm realizing, should this even be on my shelf? I also heard that she's problematic. I feel like I should dig into that a bit more, but I think I'm going to end up taking her off my shelves. So pretend they don't exist. So these 3 are arcs that have nothing to do with dragons as far as I know. I've only read this one because Bridget is a mutual of mine. These were given to me years ago. For whatever reason, I just did not get to 2 of these books, and I will eventually. But for now, they're just here because I don't know where else to put them. So moving on to the middle section, which is my favorite section because I put all my favorite books here. And I say favorite loosely because I haven't read all of them. It's just these two that I haven't read. Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, which just came out, I think, a month or two ago, as well as Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang, which I've heard amazing things about. And I could just tell I will enjoy these reads, so I just put them there for now. The Poppy War series by R.F. Kuang. Miss Rebecca F. Kuang. I cannot tell you guys how much this series changed me. Reading this series, I had to film a reaction video when I was finishing the third book in the trilogy, and that was the one and only time I ever recorded myself bawling my eyes out on camera for the world to see. And it was just necessary. It was just necessary because nothing has moved me that way in a very long time, and I can't even remember the last time anything has made me cry that hard. Anything fictional, but this is just such a great series, and I will always recommend it. Hence why it is front and center in my collection. And I also have the special editions of the Poppy War and the Dragon Republic, which is the first and second book in the trilogy. I'm just waiting for the third one to be released as well, but they are so beautiful. And I would show you what the sprayed edges look like, but I don't want to mess up my shelf because I am scared I will never get back to the way it is now, because it is quite a tight squeeze, as you can see. I just recently finished reading the Divine Rivals duology, Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. It is beautiful. I love YA stories when they're done well, and I just love the sweetness of the romance in it, and just the yearning and the pining and the high stakes. It was just such a good series to read, and I'll always recommend this as well. I will say I did not enjoy Ruthless Vows as much as Divine Rivals, but still, good series. Coming back over here to this shelf, we have, of course, The Night and the Moth. It's a romantasy. I just finished it very recently. I really enjoyed it. I do have some thoughts that I will share at some point, but I will recommend this as well. One Dark Window is by Rachel Gillig, the same author who wrote The Night and the Moth, and I really love the One Dark Window duology. I'm still reading Two Twisted Crowns, which is the second book in the series. It's a duology, but I really like her writing style. If you're looking for more fall reads, One Dark Window is a great spooky season read just because of the dark, moody, gloomy vibe of it. So good. We have Sing Me to Sleep by Gabby Burton, which is YA and also a black siren and I think human. I think he's human. I can't remember now. It's been a while, but there are humans, there are fae, there are sirens, and it's a really good YA story. I haven't read the second book. I think there's also a third. I'm behind on my reading, but I will recommend this as well. And if you're looking for more YA fantasy reads, anything by Stephanie Garber. I read the Caraval series, loved it. I also read the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, loved it even more. I love Jax so much. Spice-free, just fun and romantic and magical. I will recommend the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. The Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. I started this during the pandemic and I was obsessed with it. I really loved the romantasy element. I think that was one of my first romantasy series that I started at the time, and I was obsessed with it. I did not finish the series, and there's more books in this series which I don't have, but I'll get to it. I'll get to it at some point. Over on this shelf, I have my South Asian inspired stories or books by South Asian authors. And I have read some of these. I have not read all of them. So I am South Asian. I'm Tamil. And a few of these are by Tamil authors. But I do find that with South Asian books, the themes and topics are very serious and heavy. So it can be it's a little daunting sometimes to delve into these types of stories, but I do try to kind of switch up what I'm reading when I can, and I've done a really bad job of it, but hopefully I get to more of these books, and when I do, I will discuss them more in detail. And when it comes to topics where politics get involved, people have a lot to say which is great, but everyone has different opinions. And I think that's when conversations get very hard to navigate and very, sometimes, what do you call it? Very discouraging. And for that reason, I try not to talk about heavy topics on socials. I do talk about heavy topics with my friends, with my immediate circles, and sometimes I do post about it. But I don't want to make that my main focus because, again, I'm trying to keep this a safe space, not just for myself, but for others, and just to make this a hobby that I enjoy and don't have to dread looking at my comments, you know? I don't know if I'm making sense right now, but it's still important to talk about politics, and books are political, which you've heard a million times by now. They are. So even if you're not in a position or mindset to talk about heavy topics or politics, at least read books that do get into these topics, because that's how you learn about the world and things that you're not familiar with or used to, and you become a more productive member of society in that way. So yes, it is our duty as readers to enjoy what we're reading and to have fun with it, but also diversify what you're reading. Make sure you are learning from what you're reading, whether that's from a light, fluffy romance or fantasy or nonfiction. Just make sure you are taking something away from everything that you consume. This went in a very different direction than I intended, but anyways, yes, this is my South Asian inspired shelf, and below we have more fantasy. These books, they don't really have a common theme. Well, they're all fantasy, but they just look nice sitting next to each other, so I put them there. These are more fantasy. These don't really have a common theme other than I either did not really enjoy them or I just haven't read them yet. So I've just plunked them here. I will say the From Blood and Ash series was another overhyped book talk series. In my opinion, I could not get past the second book because Poppy just kept going and going with her inner monologue, and I've ranted about this so many times, I'm not going to do it again, but I will not recommend that series to anybody. But if you enjoyed it, I'm glad you did. I'm glad someone did, but I did not. Of course, we have Twilight. I had like 3 copies of these books in high school because for some reason I was so obsessed with these characters, and then one day when my frontal lobe developed, I realized why. So I have them. They're just there. Also, special mention, I just bought these. They're still wrapped brand new in box. But this is the Ember in the Ashes Quartet. I'm saying that weird. An Ember in the Ashes series by Saba Tahir. I've heard great things about this author and the series, so I can't wait to get into these. So that was the tour of my bookshelves as they are right now. They will be changing as I get more books in, which I am. And I hate that I have to say this, but you don't have to agree with me when I have certain opinions on certain books or series. If you loved reading something, then you loved reading something, and those books are for you, even if they're not for me or for anybody else. Reading is reading, guys. Just make sure that you're enjoying what you're reading and you are thinking critically about what you are reading. Thank you guys so much for watching. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate the support. And also, leave me a comment if you saw your favorite book on my shelf. I'd love to hear from you. You can also find me on Instagram and TikTok at Ashvini Reads.